Hold on. You should be able to hear me now. Mic check 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2. It's your brother DivineProspect, Kingdom Harbinger Ministries, aka KHM. We're back for another Freestyle Friday. This is our daytime session. So typically our daytime session is going to be a little shorter than our nighttime sessions, but this gives me an opportunity to check in with y'all to see what's going on, what's the word, give you some updates, and get in. Let's see. Okay. All right. So it says you can hear me. Cool. I had to pull out the throwback hat over here, Orthodox Flow, to support the brothers who created this hat in our community and show love and support. It's kind of throwback. I used to wear it a lot in the past. Got a little damage on this side, but I'll go ahead and paint that up so that way it looks good as new. All right, family. Let me know. Hit 1 if the audio and video is good. Hit 1 if the audio and video is good. Let me know. Hit one before we begin. We can start another Freestyle Friday. So we open it up to questions and critiques and all that good stuff, right? All right. 1. I see somebody has 1 right there. All right. Good. All right, let's go ahead and begin. So for me, this week is very interesting. I just started a 3rd work contract this week on Monday. Started one last Monday prior to that as well, along with the ongoing one that I've been doing. So like I mentioned before, getting acclimated and settled in is a process. And that's why I haven't been able to do much. I think last Shabbat, I was trying to go out and get a haircut and take my son to go get a haircut. And that was a whole long, lengthy ordeal. So I didn't get a chance to do this daytime session last Friday. That's what I intended to do last Friday. So that's why I'm doing it now. But I cannot shy away from the people and the work that needs to be done. So I appreciate y'all for understanding. So that's why we're here right now. Other than that, I want to take some time out to thank all of our Patreon supporters. I appreciate y'all, our KHM members. Thank you for hanging in there with us. This month in July, I wanted to do some chapter launches, but I realized I'm going to have to grind this month. So I'm probably not going to be traveling until August. So I just want to update y'all on that in regards to any chapter launches and stuff like that, any events. I was just, this past weekend, I was at the Fringe 3 Fest out here in Georgia. I think it was it was the town over from Douglasville. So I was out there. I didn't release no pictures or images yet, so I'm going to try to do that over the weekend. It was a great event. I enjoyed it. Music was great. Good meeting our people in the flesh, which is always a good thing. And I want to say shout out to all the brothers that I've seen at the event, whether they were leaders or regular laymen. I enjoyed the music, the food, the vendors that was out there. And next year, when I've been told by the good brother Monologue, I want to say shout out to the brother Monologue who put a lot of hard work, effort, blood, sweat, and tears to make that event happen. That's a very good brother, very humble brother, man. And, make sure if y'all see him online, y'all say thank you for the event. Those of you who did attend, because he did a momentous work on that project and made it happen last year and this year. And you could tell just by seeing him, man, it's just wearing him out, so that brother did what he had to do, man. And I appreciate the brother, you know what I'm saying? So with that being said, I'm going to transition away from that. But yeah, shout out to everybody that was at the event. It's great meeting y'all. Thank y'all for coming out, showing support to the brother Monologue and his team. And whatever I think the next event is an event in California that's called, what's it called? I keep forgetting what it is. What is that? Oh, Brucella. That's what it is. Brucella is a family music event or a music and family event that's going down in LA. If I'm not mistaken, on July 28th. So if you're on, Brucella is. So if you're on the West Coast, just type in Brucella on Instagram, follow the page, and get all the details about the event there. All right. And that's what I wanted to do last Friday, if I went live, was to tell you about the Fringe 3 Fest, but it would have been too late by that time. So it's all good. There's going to be, I know there's a couple of events that are planned for this year. I know KHM, we have some events planned for this year as well. Going into September, we have our chapter launches. We have one going down in August It's tentative, but we have one going on in August, and then we're going to try to have some additional events this fall. And then I still have my lecture that I'm working on diligently to present to the community. And that's going to be an in-person lecture, right, that we're going to record. So we did one of those back in March for the International Decade for People of African Descent. And the next one I'm doing is going to be the one on divine patronage, explicating what calling on the name of the Lord means in the Bible. Okay, that's a fire lecture coming up. I did a lot of research for it, did a lot of reading, had to read, I think it was like seven books I had to read, and I'm still trying to finish 3 of those 7 books. And these books are hundreds of pages, man. You know what I'm saying? But I wanted to get everything that I need to make this lecture great. It's a lot of good information. And the good thing about this lecture is once you learn what this means and how it was performed in ancient times, I do the one-to-one mapping as to how do you apply this knowledge today in 2024. All right. All right. Somebody's saying they can't hear me. Hit 1 if you can hear me. Hit 1 if you can hear me. Let me know if y'all can still hear me. Somebody's saying they can't hear me. Okay, I think he can hear me now. All right, cool. All right. So with that said, I just want to throw a little bit out there. Again, you can continue to support the ministry. Best way to support the ministry is get on Patreon, www.patreon.com/DivineProspect. If you want to continue to support the ministry, also, I just made a new post there that's available to everybody that's on the Patreon. And it's a website that gets you access to tons of biblical courses from experts in the field. A lot of it is geared towards Christianity, but some of it is some good objective information as well. And one of them was by Bill Mounts, talking about translations, right? It's a very good one that I recommend everybody in here to go see. And what happens is people who are stuck in religiosity, be it on Clubhouse, man, make sure you sign up for Clubhouse. All right. Get the Clubhouse app on the Google Play Store or the Apple App Store. Download Clubhouse, set up an account, follow me at DivineProspect. Because like I said, I'm active on there every week. I'm not on there every day, but I'm on there several times a week. But on there's some people who said they don't care about the Hebrew. And yesterday, I was having a dialogue with this dude named Jacob, who's part of IOG. This guy is like in his late 50s, I think 60, something like that. And he acts like a child. It's sad. He had a title called Jesus is the Name of the Father. And, you know, I objected to that. He brought me on stage and I told him that's Jesus is not the name of the Father. What's the name of the Father? Yod-Heh Vav-Heh was the name of the Father. Yod-Heh what? Yod-Heh. Make it fun. We don't speak Hebrew here. Blah, blah, blah. I said, okay. I said, look, go to Psalm 68:4, and you'll get the name. The name's transliterated from Hebrew. So if you have a KJV or NKJV, it's going to have the transliteration of the Most High's name, shortened form, Yah, in Hebrew. They transliterated it. They didn't translate it to English as the Lord or anything like that. It's translated as Jah in the KJV or Yah appropriately in the NKJV. Before we even got to that, he thought I was somebody he discussed in a previous room he had earlier that day, which definitely wasn't me because I was working diligently and didn't have a chance to get on. And I made a whole room yesterday, and there was like 50 plus people jumped in that room. His room had like maybe 15. He didn't really have nobody in his room. And I was trying to give him an opportunity to speak. You know, when I invite guests, even on here, I allow them to speak and say what they need to say. So the problem was the fact that he's misleading a lot of people because he's ignorant and naive, and his understanding of the Bible is remedial, right? And unfortunately, somebody like that should not be in a position to teach. I never asked to be a teacher. I never asked to be a moray. I never asked to be a leader. I'm just fulfilling the role that Yah has provided for me, the one that he wants me to do. That's why I'm here. I'm not here for all of that, those titles, and I don't even say none of that. I come in the room on Clubhouse just to contribute to the conversation. You know what I'm saying? And some of those conversations have been recorded. The problem is I can't download them. Only the people who started the rooms can download it and then send it to me. What I can do is record it from my phone. So I'm trying to set up my backup phone so I can record, because man, we had one 2 days ago that was really good, man. We dealt with a cult member of the Yaju flavor of cults. And we deal with this dude named Benji, who was an atheist, right, and trying to say the Bible condones rape. He died on that hill. And then the last one we had was on manuscripts. We were talking about manuscripts. Oh, we was talking about speaking with the brother Yazoo, who has Eber math, and trying to show him and the audience how to compare word directly from the New Testament with the Old Testament, right? So we went into the Septuagint, and we do what we call cognate study. Then I did associative terms with the Hebrew, etc. So I have all of that recorded. Well, I don't have it recorded. It's on a replay. So I'm going to record it so I can post it on here so y'all can hear it. It'll be in 3 segments because it was a long, maybe 6-hour session. So I'm going to break up each session, which is about an hour and a half, hour, 45 minutes each. And I'll post it on here so y'all can listen to it. I think that was a really, really good session, and I'm glad that it was recorded. Right. All right. So now let me give a couple of shout outs, and then we get into the Q&A. You know how we do. Again, if you want to support the ministry, you can go sign up for the Patreon, and there's other things that we offer as well. You're going to see it in the description below. We have the Be Like t-shirts. We have the KHM Keshed magazine. We have the keychain pendants, the silver scrolls. What else we have? We have our mixtapes. We have our calendar. That's apparently old, but we still have the calendar. We're working on a new one for next year. And there's other things that we are offering that you can go and support down below. Also, if you need assistance with debt elimination, credit repair, JubileeManumission@gmail.com. Details is down below. Also, if you need assistance along your health journey, whether it's an ailment that you're suffering from or you need assistance with the maintenance regimen, we got you. naturopathtoeden@gmail.com. It's in the description below. The email, shoot us an email, tell us how we can assist you, and we'll get it on and popping from there. Also, if you're looking for some work to do, right, we are hiring for those 2 programs that we offer, because there's a paid element to it, right? So we're offering for those 2 elements. If you see that you could be useful in the fiscal industry and or the naturopath industry, and then you want to take that knowledge, understanding, and enthusiasm and pour it into a ministry, we have the avenues for you to do that. Okay. All right. And also this semester coming up, we're going to try to get our virtual homeschooling back up and running again. We had 12 people the last time we pushed it last year. We're going to do it again this year. I renamed it to the Ezra Institute. That's what we're calling it. And we'll have that up and running next month before the beginning of fall semester. All right. In case anybody here is interested in homeschooling, you either need the resources and the curriculum to do so, or if you want an instructor to do all the work for you, right? So if you're interested in homeschooling your children and you need some assistance, this is what this is set up for. All right. Okay. All right. So let's get it on and pop in. Go a couple of shout outs, go to the Q&A. We got about 35 minutes left, I think. Shout out to Israel Young Lion, Shalom, Bayith Haya, Restored House, Shalom, Sister Santua, Shalom, Jay, Shalom, Yigdalia, Shalom, Aishu Code, Shalom, That One Servant, Shalom King, Peace Be Still, Shalom, Get Wise, Shalom, Believers of the Report 144, Mr. Jeshurun, Shalom, Crown Prince, Shalom, Mr. 6'5", Shalom. Let's see. Bayith Ma'azan Network, Shalom. Good seeing you as well. Nazik Shama. Let's see. My brother Yaram Ya Banya Sharala, Shalom. Damon Williamson, Shalom. Kiri Bell, Shalom. RP, Shalom. Cheryl, Shalom. My good sister Lisa Marie Anderson, Shalom, sis. Dion J, Shalom. Chief Ara. Darya Wesh, Yashakar, Shalom. Let's see. Gavin Miller, Shalom. The Shepherd, Shalom. CPAR, Talk, Shalom. Let's see. Hey, y'all not wasting any time throwing those questions in there. JT Preacher, Shalom. Solomon Ben David, Shalom. Ernest Higgs, Shalom. James Lockhart, Shalom. Etc. Now, recently, since I moved, it's been a hassle since last month to go check my P.O. box. But I received a letter from a brother named Andre Deshaun Morris. He's incarcerated in North Dakota, Jamestown, North Dakota. The brother sent me a nice little letter right here from prison, and we get prison letters from time to time. brothers asking for material like DVDs and books and stuff like that, and we ship them out per the request that we got. He actually sent this almost a month ago, and I just got it this week. So I definitely want to send him over some material. If anybody that is behind bars, incarcerated, they need any material, books or whatever, we do it for free. Like, we give the brothers, we buy the books and we ship it to them for free. Books, DVDs, I come out of my own pocket, or if the ministry has it, come out the ministry's pocket, and we buy the material. So if you know anybody that's incarcerated or locked up, have them send us a mail. We have this information as well down below. But King of Harbinger Ministries, 257 Lawrence Street, hashtag 4295, Marietta, Georgia 30061. Definitely have them send it to us, and then we will definitely read the letter. Give them a shout out. So you keep this brother in your prayers. His name is Andre Deshaun Morris. Keep him in your prayers. And we'll go ahead and send out material to them based on what they request, or if they're asking for us to recommend something, we'll send it out to them, right? So it was very, very nice seeing this letter, man, because like I said, every year we get several letters from brothers and sisters who are incarcerated, either by people that follow this ministry, or they may stumble upon us on YouTube or social media, or by watching. Like he said, he found out about me on the Hebrews to Negroes DVDs that somebody sent to him, and he saw me on it, and that's why he reached out to me. You know what I'm saying? So good brother. I look forward to sending this over to him to help him with a study. So if you know anybody that's incarcerated and they need materials, have them reach out to us. Either email kingdomharbinger@gmail.com, or they can mail us, like I just gave you the information, right? All right. Shout out to Kat 3L, Ben Israel, Israelite Defense, Shalom. All right. So wait. You're asking a lot of questions. Now let's transition to the questions. This is why y'all come here. Y'all don't care nothing about me. You don't care nothing about the KHM, the ministry. Y'all just want your questions answered. I said, Divine, what's your take on this? It's cool. That's what I'm here for. You know what I'm saying? I'm here for. I love it. I love everybody else that's here, man. Appreciate your support. All right, cool. Shout out to Ayash in the building, Thomas Jackson, Shalom. All right, so there's several questions floating around. Let me just grab them from what I see. Let's see. Okay, so look. So I got this from Yigdalia. You know what's so crazy? I was actually working on this video. I was writing it out, just a couple of notes, and I was going to go over this. So I can give you the answer to that. I would say the answer is in Numbers chapter 29, verse 8 and 9 is the answer to that question. Numbers chapter 21, verses 8 and 9. But I'm going to do a video that I plan to upload in regards to this exact specific question. That's crazy that you asked that, because I was just thinking about this 2 days ago, and I wrote some notes down. I said, look, I'm going to turn this into a quick video. So the answer is Numbers chapter 21, verse 8 and 9. All right, because people don't know what the creature is. The text says serpent, some say snake. It can't be a serpent or a snake, because it was cursed to be a serpent snake. The answer to this is Numbers chapter 21, verses 8 and 9, and Isaiah chapter 6. That's the answer to that question. So I'm gonna allow y'all to do your homework, and then y'all keep an eye out for the video that's up, and then the video will answer that question for you. Okay. All right. So believers of the report 144, Mr. Jeshua, and 2 John, is docetism being addressed? Yes, docetism is being addressed all throughout the epistles of John. Right? There was a Johannine community, and some of the people in Johannine community had broken off from the community, and the ones that wound up writing the epistles, because scholars don't attribute it to John, they attribute it to his followers, or the Johannine community that was created, that they attribute those letters from, not meaning that he wasn't the author responsible for it, but the form in which we got it was put together by his community. If you read John chapter 1, verses 1 to 18, the prologue, John chapter 21, these things were interpolations to the book of John in order to address docetism. Docetism is a doctrine within the umbrella of Gnosticism, and it teaches that sarx, or flesh, is bad, and pneuma, or spirit, is good. Therefore, Jesus cannot come in the flesh, because if he came in the flesh, being the redeemer of all mankind, he would have had sin. And it's crazy, because all throughout the quote unquote synoptic gospels and the gospel of John, the goal was to show that he had no fault. And then Peter in his epistle said there was no guile in him, right? So those things were added on for that. And then the epistles of John was written after the book of John and after those interpolations to give you more in-depth information as to the split. And matter of fact, let me get it for you real quick. Let me get it for you. All right. So let's go to 1 John chapter 2. 1 John chapter 2. And I'm going to start at verse, let me pull the translation. 1 John chapter 2. All right. It's 1 John chapter 2. All right. And we're going to go down to verse 18. And it says, children, it is the last hour. And as you have heard that Antichrist is coming, so now many Antichrists have come. Therefore, we know that it is the last hour. So this term Antichrist that's being used, the biblical usage by the author of the first epistle of John, is a specific usage for a specific group. Okay. He says, therefore, we know that it is the last hour. They went from us, but they were not of us. Again, the split within the joining community. For if they had been of us, they would have continued with us, but they went out, that it might become plain that they all are not of us. But you have been anointed by the Holy One, and you all have knowledge. I write to you, not because you do not know the truth, but because you know it, and because no lie is of the truth. Then it goes to say, who is the liar but he who denies Jesus is the Christ? Anybody that's saying that Yeshua is not the Mashiach is a liar. And he says, this is the Antichrist who denies the Father and the Son. No one who denies the Son has the Father. Whoever confesses the Son has the Father also. Let what you heard from the beginning abide in you. If what you heard from the beginning abides in you, then you too will abide in the Son and in the Father. And this is the promise that he made to us, eternal life. Okay? So that's them addressing that community. All right? That's very important. Now, also, let me pull up 1 John chapter 4, because they go on to address this community. 1 John chapter 4, and starting at verse, what's that? Verse 1. All right. And it says, beloved, do not believe every spirit, but test the spirits to see whether they are from God. For many false prophets has gone out into the world. Verse 2. By this you know the Spirit of God. Every spirit that confesses that Jesus Christ has come in the flesh is from God, and every spirit that does not confess Jesus is not from God. This is the spirit of the Antichrist. Remember, the use of Antichrist is dealing with those that was part of the community that left from them, that did not continue with them. That is the specific usage for the Antichrist, which you have heard was coming and now is in the world already. Little children, you are from God and have overcome them, for he who is in you is greater than he who is in the world. They are from the world, therefore they speak from the world, and the world listens to them. We are from God. Whoever knows God listens to us. Whoever is not from God does not listen to us. By this we know the spirit of truth and the spirit of error. So those who subscribe to Docetism was part of the community of believers. And then they dispatched for them because of a doctrinal difference, which we're seeing. And now they're called the Antichrist by the author of 1 John. All right. So hopefully that answers your question, believers of the report. And again, it is addressed directly. The doctrine is addressed directly. Jesus Christ coming in the flesh. That's important. Okay. James Lockhart, will there be animal sacrifices in the kingdom? Yes. There will be animal sacrifices in the kingdom. All right. So anything we read from the Naviim, the prophets like Yeshayahu or Isaiah and Jeremiah and Ezekiel, there will be the restoration of animal sacrifice. Yes. All right. For me go into that, let me know if you need scriptures for that. I'm trying to go through as many questions as I can. All right. Israel Young Lion says, what's your thoughts on using LXS as preference over the Masoretic text, seeing how it has its issues? The Septuagint LXS and the Masoretic text both have issues, right? They both have issues. I don't prefer one over the other. I prefer the better reading in either over the other, right? So if you want a good understanding of that, you want to get Emmanuel Tove's book called Criticism of the Hebrew Bible. Matter of fact, let me throw that in the chat for y'all so you have it. All right, let me grab it and throw it in the chat. All right, there you go. Poop. Go ahead and read that, and you'll see what I'm talking about when I discuss it. Shalom, sister Lisa Y in the building. This sister follows me on Clubhouse. She's in some of those tumultuous rooms, so she knows what goes down. Glad to see you here, sis. If you have any questions, let us know. Shout out to Big Chief Prince Vision in the building. Patrick Daughtery. Shalom. Let me see. Shalom, 2 questions. 1, does believing in Jesus simply mean understanding his purpose? And 2, how do you separate going through him to get to the Father without unintentional idolatry? All right, cool. So let me address the first one. Believing in him is subscribing to the assignment in which he came. He came after the Melchizedek order in order to offer himself as a martyr to bring Israel back to the Father. And because of that selfless act, he is now the mediator between the Father and men, the same way that the bailiff in a courtroom is the mediator between the judge and the people in the court. All right. So when it says believe in him, belief is not blind. It's subscribing to the testimony that was left behind in regards to his life, his assignment, his death, etc. His apostles, who were disciples of his, are writing to testify of the true truth or the trustworthiness of that information in regards to him and what he taught. So you subscribe and abide his teachings, and he taught the gospel of the kingdom of heaven or the gospel of the kingdom of God. That is what he taught. So that is to be subscribed to because you was not there to witness it. And if you agree to this and it convicts you, then you subscribe to his teachings. This is how you get into the kingdom, through his teachings. And once you subscribe to those teachings, now he makes the pathway or the bridge between you and the Father, and he mediates between you and the Father, the same way that the high priest in Israel mediate between the people and the Father on Yom Kippur, or the Day of Atonement. So he's the high priest of an order that's greater than Levitical order. Levitical order has been suspended right now. Now we're under the Melchizedek order. This is not just New Testament text. This also comes from the DSS, the Melchizedek scroll, and others. We see this information. Okay. So it's not idolatry because you can worship Yeshua and it not be idolatry. Just same way that Israel worshiped the king and the most high God, but they're not worshiping him as if he's God. There are different words in the New Testament that relate to worship, and only one of those words goes to the Father, doesn't go to Yeshua or Jesus, unless you do your homework on that, right? But let me give you the scripture so you can see what I'm talking about. And again, everything that I see in the New Testament, I find the archetype in the Old Testament. I find the providence in the Old Testament. I find the precedent in the Old Testament or the Tanakh. You must be able to do a one-to-one relationship with that. Matter of fact, I got tons of books that talk about showing the relationship between them. Matter of fact, let's drop one in the chat. All right. I'm going to give you one. It's called the Dictionary of the New Testament Use of the Old Testament. I'm going to give you this one. Drop this in the chat. Boom. And then I'm going to give you another one. All right. This one is called, where's it at? Where's it at? Where's it at? Where's it at? This other book called Messianism Among Jews and Christians. Messianism Among Jews and Christians. Let me drop that because that's good if you just want to focus on the Messiah elements of the Tanakh. And then I have one more, if I can find it. Is it this one? Well, this one you need to have this one. So I'm gonna definitely give it to you. It's called Mind the Gap: How the Jewish Writings Between the Old and New Testament Help Us Understand Jesus. I was on my session yesterday on Clubhouse, and I told them the reason why people who only subscribe to the Tanakh do not understand the New Testament is because they are unaware of the intertestamental writings. You're unaware. How come the Most High's name is not in the New Testament? Well, it's a writing style. There's a reason why they didn't place it in there. If you understand Aramaic texts like Targum and others, you would understand why they ceased from putting the sacred name in works after the closing of the Tanakh. But most people don't know the history. They don't care about the history, but I'm going to give you a book that's going to break down information to you. And by the way, if you're interested in books, all types of books on different types of subject matters, sign up for the Patreon, www.patreon.com/DivineProspect. We have over 500 books on there. 500 books you can get access to, including the ones that I'm mentioning to you right now. All right. All right. So that dictionary one on the New Testament use of the Old Testament is an excellent book because, again, it itemizes every use of the New Testament from the Old. And again, you have to build that bridge or that foundation. All right. Okay. So let me transition from that. Show you this one scripture. All right, we're going to go to First Chronicles chapter 29 and verse 20. All right, and let me show you this. First Chronicles chapter 29 verse 20. Let me show you this. Boop, boop. And here it goes. Then David said to all the assembly, bless the Lord your God. And all the assembly blessed the Lord, the God of their fathers, and bowed their heads and paid homage to the Lord and to the king. They knelt before the Lord and the king. They paid homage to the Lord and the king and worshiped the Lord and the king. You can worship the king and you can worship the Lord. That's not idolatry to worship the king. Yeshua is the king from the lineage of David. Being from the lineage of David, he's the king. The text says in Matthew chapter 2, who is he who was born king of the Jews? That's not idolatry to worship the king. It's not idolatry to go to the mediator between you and God on your behalf, the same way that people went to Moses because they did not want to speak to the Most High. That's not idolatry. Anybody that tells you that don't understand the Tanakh. Or they take a extreme conservative Christian perspective on the Bible to say that Jesus is the Most High God. Okay. Let's see. All right, Jacoby, Shalom, join our classes. It's $50 a month for our holistic classes. The first part of the course, the first part of the class, we go into the grammatical and lexical analysis of the text. So we teach you how to learn some of the language and use that knowledge to dissect any passage you come across and how to look up these words and what tools you can use to help you with all of this. So Jacoby, sign up for our Patreon at the $50 tier, www.patreon.com/DivineProspect. And from there, you want to sign up for the $50 tier and you'll be automatically enrolled into our classes. Just keep an eye on the posts that we make in regards to the classes, which is called the KHM Holistic Research Paradigm for Bible Study classes. All right. Okay. All right. Let's see. Shalom to Raphael. I see you in the building, my brother. Let's see. Bina Bat Ephraim. Shalom. I see you, sis. V the preacher. Shalom. Let's see. Ariel. Shalom, King. Okay, let me see. Let me grab some more questions, man. There's a lot of questions on there. Ayash, yes, I read the Polyglot Bible. If you have any questions on it, just let me know. Let me try to grab some more questions. Let's see. And let me know, Patrick, if I answered your question, okay? Let's see. Let's see. All right. What do you say about the brothers who believe we're no longer under the Mosaic law, but the law of liberty? I disagree with that. And if you see, was it the last session I did what I described the dichotomy between the Melchizedek order and Levitical order? And I explained that. I said that the law itself is going to be the same. All the moral elements of the law, ethic elements of the law And all those things that people are supposed to do is going to be the same. The only difference is the format in which the law is conveyed. In the past, because the people was afraid to hear the voice of the Most High, it was written on tablets of stone and it was written on a scroll, and both was placed in the Ark of the Covenant. But to those who now have their hearts circumcised, trying to find the best way to describe this. Now the law is going to be written on their hearts and on their minds. So they don't need somebody to teach them the law, because in times past, because people was afraid of the deity, they had an intermediary there to teach them the law. Now, because of the Paraklete or the Paraclete or the Parakletos, which is the one that's elected to be close, who we call the Comforter or the Holy Spirit. Holy Spirit is now the intermediary. It helps us in our moanings and utterances and groanings when we're trying to pray or trying to speak to the deity, to pull up an appeal in prayer, and or if we need knowledge in regards to how to live day to day, our lives should reflect that which is in the law. When you read in Romans chapter 2, Paul says that there are Gentiles that do the things in the law without knowing the law. How is that possible? So we need to have the same relationship with the deity, where we hear his voice, we obey his commandments, and his law is written on our hearts and our minds. So that's the law of liberty, that you don't need a man to teach you. The law of liberty is that you can go directly to the deity because of the Ruach HaKodesh. You can go directly to the deity because Yeshua is up there mediating. You can go directly to, that's the liberty that you get. You are also set free from the legalism, the excessive adherence to the mitzvot, to the law, ha-mitzvot, the laws. So what the Pharisees did, Sadducees, scribes, and other groups, they've added on additional oral traditions that make keeping the law very difficult, as we see in Deuteronomy chapter 30, verse 11. It's nigh to you, so that you can keep them. It's not difficult that you got to send somebody above, send somebody below, but it's nigh unto thy mouth and unto your heart. They've created this fence around Torah and made it more difficult to access the Lord's commandments. Now that is removed. You don't need that anymore, because now you have Yeshua and you have the Paraklete in order to be your mediator to transform those laws onto your heart, sans the traditions, the legalisms. Okay. All right. Let me see. What else is here? Let's see. There's a lot of questions. Let me see what else I'm going to grab. All right, let's see what this is. Be the preacher. First century Christianity wiped out along with Ebionites, later considered heresy because they didn't accept Paul. Yes, well, that's one of the things. The Ebionites did not accept Paul, but there were different sects of the Ebionites, Nazarenes, and people of the way. We find one group in Acts chapter 21, and we see that those brothers had a beef with Paul because they believed that Paul was teaching the Jews amongst the Gentiles to forsake the law of Moses. And what James did was he had to correct that and see whether or not that was true. So he had Paul commit himself to the Nazirite vow, and Paul did it. So there was some that was part of that group that was not there, that did not get the elders or the OGs at Jerusalem to explain to them, no, Paul's really down with it. Like, he keeps the law and he's not teaching against that. So there was some that was not a part of that encounter and did not witness that. And they're the ones who was being spoken about by early church fathers, because there was groups that was, the groups at Jerusalem were Jewish Christians, quote unquote. It was a lot of them. Some of them broke off, became different sects, and migrated elsewhere. So the ones that encountered the church fathers who said that they repudiate Paul was part of that group in Acts chapter 21, but then it was not there for that encounter. So they still repudiated Paul. And the reason why they repudiated him, because they feel that he is telling people to leave the law. Paul was not teaching that. You never taught any Jew to reject the law. Matter of fact, Paul kept the law himself, and he circumcised Timothy and obligated him to the law, according to what he says in the book of Galatians. He says, if you keep circumcision, then you're obligated to the law. So Paul obligated a man to the law. There's no way he could be against the law. And that's the problem, that people don't understand what's occurring in the text. They're not looking at it holistically. All right. All right. Anytime, brother. Anytime. Glad we addressed that for you. Let's see. Yes, the Pseudo-Clementine homilies. Some people associate that to Paul being the one that's in discussion between Peter and James. Let's see. Shout out to Righteous Winds. Shalom. Let's see. What other questions we got here? All right, let's see. My brother Israelite Defense says, been watching your classes, holy days. I wanted to ask, what day do you think Christ rose from, and how would you interpret that is said by the disciples in Luke 24, the third day since these things? That's a great question, and that's a very involved discussion. What I will do is give you a good source that addresses this, and I've shared this before. I don't know if you have it, but I'm going to put it in the chat for everybody else who may not have. All right, where is it at? Let me grab it. All right, there it is. All right, one of my favorite books on this subject matter. Just drop it in the chat, give you some homework. All right. So my contention is I don't subscribe to it being Friday, but I understand that argument. Some people say it's on Friday. That's not my subscription. My subscription that it was on Wednesday, Thursday. And I've taught this in the past and explained why that's the case. So what I'm doing is just giving you a book that looks at the argument objectively, and tries to examine that very question that you ask and provide some insight on it. Okay. All right. Definitely put Timothy on the yoke of bondage. Matter of fact, let's get that. All right, let's go to Galatians chapter 5. Galatians chapter 5. I love bringing this up to Christians, man. Galatians chapter 5, and let's start at verse 1. All right, let me see. Is it sharing? No. That one is sharing. Hold on, let's close that. Galatians chapter 5 and verse 1. And it reads, for freedom Christ has set us free. Stand therefore, and do not submit again to a yoke of slavery. Look, I, Paul, say to you that if you accept circumcision, Christ will be of no advantage to you. I testify again to every man who accepts circumcision that he is obligated to keep the whole law. You are severed from Christ, you who would be justified by the law. You have fallen away from grace, for through the Spirit, by faith, we ourselves eagerly wait for the hope of righteousness. For in Christ Jesus, neither circumcision nor uncircumcision counts for anything, but only faith working through love. So people say, oh, Paul's saying if you circumcise yourself, you've been obligated to the law. Did Paul obligate a man to the law? Let's go to Acts chapter 16 real quick. Let's go see what Paul's doing. He obligating people to the law. Go ahead, Paul. 16 verse 1, Paul came also to Derbe and to Lystra. A disciple was there named Timothy, the son of a Jewish woman who was a believer, but his father was a Greek. So according to the Israelites, you have the pedigree of your father. So Timothy would be considered what? A Gentile, right? I would say he could be considered either or. It just depends. And it says he was well spoken of by the brothers at Lystra and Iconium. Paul wanted Timothy to accompany him, and he took him and circumcised him because of the Jews who were in those places, for they all knew that his father was a Greek. So Paul just said in Galatians, which is interesting because in Acts chapter 15 is the Council of Jerusalem, and in Galatians chapter 1 and 2, Paul talks about that specific encounter. So the book of Galatians written shortly after Acts chapter 15 and 16, and Paul telling people, do not circumcise yourself. If you do, you're going to put a yoke of bondage on you. And he said, you're going to be obligated to the law. So look what Paul did to Timothy. He put a whole yoke of bondage on this man. Is that what Paul's really saying? Are we seeing a contradiction here? Or is there something completely different going on that Paul's discussing? Remember, and I teach this all the time, if we're looking at this objectively, we have to see what happens in Acts chapter 15. I'm going to give you some quick insight and let you do the rest of the research yourself. In Acts chapter 15, starting at verse 1, it says, but some men came down from Judea and were teaching the brothers, unless you are circumcised according to the custom of Moses, you cannot be saved. And after Paul and Barnabas had no small dissension and debate with them, Paul and Barnabas and some of the others were appointed to go up to Jerusalem to the apostles and the elders about this question. So being sent on their way by the church, they passed through both Phoenicia and Samaria, describing in detail the conversion of the Gentiles, and brought great joy to all the brothers. Jumping down. Verse 5, but some believers who belonged to the party of who? The Pharisees. Remember the Pharisees? They added additional layers to the commandments of God. Rose up and said, it is necessary to circumcise them and to order them to keep the law of Moses. Here's the problem. For you to go and convert somebody through circumcision, and this is what Yeshua says in Matthew chapter 23, that this is what the Pharisees do. They go to a faraway land. They're going to convert somebody to be twice as much as hell as they are. When we get the law of circumcision in Exodus chapter 12, it tells us that the reason why Gentiles are to be circumcised is so that they can keep the Passover. But anybody else outside of the ones who are circumcised, they can't keep the Passover. So if they want to keep the Passover, then that is when they are circumcised. You don't go circumcise them. They request to be circumcised so they can keep the Passover. That's Exodus chapter 12. That's the law of circumcision. If you're going out there willy-nilly circumcising people to convert them to keep the law of Moses, that is adding additional measures that the commandments do not teach in the written Torah. This is what Paul was beefing against in Galatians chapter 5, because obviously Paul's not saying don't circumcise at all. He's addressing the doctrine of the Pharisees who he encountered in Acts chapter 15, who he mentions in Galatians chapter 1 and chapter 2. So therefore, once we understand this, we can put everything together and say, no, Paul's not against circumcision. Paul's not against the prerequisite of circumcision on a Gentile if the Gentile did not request for the circumcision. If you're obligated to that, other than what Exodus 12 says, then you are breaking the commandments, which Jesus says that they forsake the commandments to keep the traditions of men in Mark chapter 7. That's what's going on here. And I do this to Christians all the time. Paul just obliged somebody to the law. Clearly in text, we see it. How do you get away with that? Okay. Put him in a yoke of bondage. Oh man. All right. I told you what my position is. Did you get it? I told you it's midweek. Wednesday, Thursday. My subscription is that he rose on the Sabbath and he was discovered on Sunday, first day of the week. He was in there for 3 days, 3 nights. Jesus says, are there not 12 hours in a day? That's referring to daytime, and that's going based on a Julian calendar, which would have been around at that time. Yes, good observation, Israel. The way that we wear tassels is not the, I'm not going to say it's not the correct way. It's a variation of the correct way, but there's a protect way to wear tassels. And yes, typically they're on a long tunic. In times past, that was the garments that they wore, but you can still wear the tassels that we see on the black obelisk of Shalmaneser the third. We should be wearing the tassels that way, because that is what we get in regards to being able to see actually what the Israelites wore. Also, it's on the Lachish stone, right, on in the Lachish stone, which comes from the black obelisk, and what they were wearing. So we have various reliefs, Assyrian reliefs of Jews, and we have a couple of Babylonian reliefs that actually show how they wore their fringes, right? So yes, I would say to go back there. Matter of fact, I shared an article on clothing on the Patreon that you can take a look up. Just type in clothing in the search and you'll see it goes into detail about that. All right. All right. Yes, Big Chief. I know you said that you did your DNA and it goes back to them. So yeah, if you want that information, just email me kingdomharbinger@gmail.com and I'll do what I can to assist. Okay. All right. Shout out to my brother Nazarene Hebrew Institute of Technology, NHIT. Shalom, brother Divine. This is Barak. What's your take on Deuteronomy 23:7, the law of bastards or the mamzer? Okay, let's go get Deuteronomy chapter 23 and verse 7. All right. So it says, you shall not abhor an Edomite, for he is your brother. You shall not abhor an Egyptian, because you were a sojourner in his land. Children born to them in the third generation may enter the assembly of the Lord. So I don't know if this is the one you're talking about. Maybe it might be the one previous to that. And that would be verse 3. So if you said a bastard, that would be somebody like Timothy, whose mother was a Jew and father wasn't a Jew. Is that what you're referring to? When you're going back to that, it says, no Ammonite or Moabite may enter the assembly of the Lord, even to the 10th generation. None of them may enter the assembly of the Lord forever, because they did not meet you with bread and with water on the way when you came out of Egypt, and because they hired against you Balaam, the son of Beor, from Pethor of Mesopotamia, to curse you. But the Lord your God would not listen to Balaam. Instead, the Lord your God turned the curse into a blessing for you, because the Lord your God loved you. You shall not seek their peace or their prosperity all your days forever. And it's interesting because Ammon and Moab are the sons of Job, who was the nephew of Abraham. So they are Hebrews, but they're not Israelites. Okay, so they are not welcome into the congregation. Now, if we go into, let me get this right here. Let me get this right here. Hold on 1 second. Boop, 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 boop. Let's see if we can get it. Let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 7. There was one in Kings I wanted to bring up too, but we'll do 7. And it says, when the Lord your God brings you into the land that you are entering to take possession of it, and clears away many nations before you, the Hittites, Girgashites, Amorites, Canaanites, Perizzites, Hivites, and Jebusites, 7 nations more numerous and mightier than you. And when the Lord your God gives them over to you and you defeat them, then you must devote them to complete destruction. You shall make no covenant with them and show no mercy to them. You should not intermarry with them, giving your daughters to their sons or taking their daughters for your sons, for you would turn away your sons from following me to serve other gods. Then the anger of the Lord would be kindled against you, and he would destroy you quickly. So this is, again, the law of intermarriage. Israelites are not to intermarry with these nations or their descendants thereof. The Hittites, Girgashites, Amorites, Canaanites, Perizzites, Hivites, and Jebusites. And we know that Ammon and Moab are not allowed into the assembly. Therefore, you are not to intermarry with them as well. These are the nations in which is being discussed. Okay. In context. All right. You said, you mean Lot, not Job. Oh, I said, oh, sorry. Lot. I didn't mean Job. Thank you for catching that. So Lot, the nephew of Abraham. Yes, the nephew of Abraham, who is Lot. That's how you say it. His descendants was Moab and Ammon. And the reason why you see this is because they came about by way of a sexual deviancy. So the sexual deviance came by way of the daughters of Lot taking advantage of their father while he's drunk and bearing children from that, which is incest. And because of that incestuous sexual relationship they had with their father, Moab and Ammon was not allowed to intermingle with Israel. All right. So the mamzer, again, is the bastard child. There's the bastard child. When we say bastard child, that means the mother was unmarried, number one, or the mother had the child with a man of another nation, right? That's considered a mamzer. That child themselves. What's to say of that child? Well, we have in Leviticus chapter 24, which deals specifically with a situation like that, where the Israelitish woman had a son whose father was an Egyptian who did something wrong and was judged by it, but he was identified as an Israelite through his mother, not his father. So Timothy also could have identified as a Jew through his mother, not his father. And that's why I said that identification is important, because you're going to identify through that means. You see the Jews today, they identify as a Jew when you come from the womb of a Jewish woman. Now, that is not in Torah. That actually comes from Roman law. And what Rome did to convert the Jews to become Roman citizens. Okay. They wanted to get rid of, number one, polygyny, and number two, they wanted to show descendancy through the mother, because that's what the Romans did, right? And they adopted all of that. Okay. All right. All right. Thank you, my brother Ayo Deji Alawale. Hopefully I'm saying that right. Initially, I was hesitant about your monolatry, that's how you say it, or henotheism classes on ancient Israel, but I began to see Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh worship among the Yoruba gods, Orishas, and Sirach 24:1-2 is wisdom in the divine council. And is it a she? Thank you. No, wisdom is not an entity. Wisdom is personified in Proverbs chapter 8, but we see throughout the rest of the text, wisdom, which is the word chokmah or chakma, which is a feminine noun, is they describing chokmah with a feminine pronoun. It's not a real entity. It is what we call a personification or anthropomorphism. That is literary devices being used in Proverbs chapter 8. And same thing in Sirach chapter 24, verses 1-2. Because you'll see that wisdom actually refers to a woman, a real life flesh and blood woman, later on in scripture, in the book of Proverbs. And you see it in conjunction, and you'll see the woman of wisdom and the foolish woman, right? And how they're juxtaposed. Right. So that is what the text is talking about. Wisdom is not an entity in the divine council. That is a personification, which is a literary device. And the same thing you see in regards to the word. The word itself is not a man. It doesn't have a gender. It doesn't have genitalia. But the text calls it a he. The logos as a he because it is a masculine noun. They call it a he. And because that logos was infused with flesh that did have a gender and did have genitalia, that's when now the word is a he because it is fused with the man who is a he. Wisdom itself is a she because wisdom is attributed to wise women. So they're pretty much the text is telling you that, because if you look at Proverbs chapter 1, when the father's talking to the son, he says, forsake not the Torah of your mother. The Torah of your mother, yeah, because the mother speaks wisdom to keep the child within the boundaries of protection and provision of the father. He provides the musar, the instructions, where he establishes the boundaries, and the mother provides how to navigate within those boundaries. Yah gave Israel land, and then he told them how to navigate and operate within that land. So the role that the Most High plays with Israel, Most High broke it up into gender roles, applied one to the father, one to the mother. You get that in Proverbs chapter 1, verse 8. All right. All right. Shalom to my brother Talmud, the commando. Shalom. I see you, King. Let's see. Anytime Nazarene Hebrew Institute of Technology, aka Barak. All right. Okay, where does it ever call that Egyptian and Israelite? All right, let's go to Leviticus chapter 24. And let me show you the language in there. Okay. All right, let's jump down. Verse 10. Now, an Israelite woman's son, whose father was an Egyptian, went out among the people of Israel, and the Israelite woman's son, again, 2 times. How was the son identified? By his mother. And a man of Israel fought in the camp. Verse 11. And the Israelite woman's son 3 times blasphemed the name and cursed. Then they brought him to Moses. Now look at this. His mother's name was Shelomith, the daughter of Dibri of the tribe of Dan. Wait, hold on. Why is the text mentioning the mother's tribe and father? Mentioning the mother's father and tribe if he was identified as an Egyptian. When you go to the book of Numbers and you see how the sons, after the pedigree of their fathers, the father's name is mentioned, the father's name is mentioned, and the father's tribe is mentioned. They're doing the same thing here with a woman and her son. What is the need to say who her father was and what tribe she comes from, if not to show that the son is identified as an Israelite through his mother's lineage? Explain why that's there. Very peculiar situation. Why is that there? And it names the son as the Israelite woman's son 3 times. Not the Egyptian son. I'm just saying. That's what the text says. I didn't write that. All right. All right. I didn't write that. All right. Roderick Ladson says, do you consider Jesus a God, prophet, or Messiah? I consider him all three. All three. He's a God, a prophet, and a Messiah. Hey, let me show this to you real quick before we out. Hold on 1 second. Let's get the scriptures for this. First, let me show you him as a God. Let's go to Hebrews chapter 1. Hebrews chapter 1. Let's jump down. Verse 8. But of the Son, he says, your throne, O God, is forever and ever. The scepter of uprightness is the scepter of your kingdom. You have loved righteousness and hated wickedness. Therefore, God, your God, has appointed you with the oil of gladness beyond your companions. I call this, and I say this all the time, this is them attributing, taking an attribute from an archetype in the Tanakh and applying it to Yeshua. The king of Israel was the God. This comes from Psalm chapter 45. And it's addressed to the king. If you read verse 1, the king of Israel is a God. Jesus was born king of the Jews through the lineage of David. So he is a God. And he has a God. Just like the king of Israel was God and had a God. All right. Let's go to the next verse. I'm going to get, let's see. Let's do John chapter 6, verse 14. And it says, so they gathered them up and filled 12 baskets with fragments from the 5 barley loaves left by those who had eaten. Verse 14, when the people saw the sign that he had done, they said, this is indeed the prophet who has come into the world. So Jesus is a God. Jesus is a prophet. Now let's show you Jesus as the Messiah. There's tons of text. Let me see which one I want to use. Let's see. I'm going to do... Let's stick to John. We're still in John, right? We're still in John. Should I do John, the woman at the well? Let's see. Which one I want to do for Jesus being the Messiah? We can do Matthew 1, chapter 21. Let's see his messiahship in Matthew chapter 1, verse 21. I was pulling up my notes on this. I got a couple of notes on this. And it says here, she will bear a son, and you shall call his name Jesus, for he will save his people from their sins. That's what the Messiah is designed to do. This one is the Messiah. Save his people from his sins. Now, if you want more scriptures, we get more scriptures in regards to that. We can go get John chapter 4, verse 25. Just go back to John. John chapter 4 and verse 25. And it says, the woman said to him, I know the Messiah is coming, he who is called Christ. When he comes, he will tell us all things. Jesus said to her, I who speak to you am he, ego ami. Not ego ami hoon, ego ami. Same thing we see in John chapter 8. And people think that Jesus is saying that he's the Father. He's not saying that. He says, I am he. This is really saying ego ami, I am. So ego ami, I, ego ami, am. But they add the he there, and that's assumed as the pronoun because of the speaker. Why don't they say I am he in John chapter 8? Because they want you to think that he's saying that he is the Father, and the Father has never said ego ami. I am. He says, ego ami ho'on, eye asher eye. I am that I am. I am who I am. So Jesus is the God, a prophet, and a Messiah. Let me know if that sufficed or if you need more work. I got you, my brother. All right. Shalom to Karima Poet in the building. What's going on? What's going on, Solomon? I'm doing well, brother. Busy with family. busy with offline ministry, busy working 3 contract jobs to catch up financially from this move and other things that we had to take care of as a family. But I'm alive. I'm going to be here when I can get here to see y'all. Things should even out by the end of July, going into August, and we get right back to that ministry work, physical work, like we've been doing. All praise to the Most High, man. All right. So let me know if that answers your question. All right, let's see. Hold on one second. All right. Let's see. All right, my brother. I was looking up something else, but I'll address that. No, Jacob, I'm still in the Atlanta area. I'm still in Atlanta. Okay. Hey, that one servant, you already know. I be trying to tell people that, but they don't want to hear it. So I tell them to do a free ministry, and I never hear back from them. Okay, what's your take on Revelations? Do you believe Christ has appeared into the sky, miracles, second coming? Also, recommend me books I can read on these. What's my take on the Book of Revelation? Book of Revelation is the least attested book in the Bible, which means a lot of the early church did not subscribe to that book of the Bible, and also as dubious, spurious, etc. from what we get from the works of Eusebius speaking on it. And it was the least copied book that was in circulation. Okay. So it was a very strange work, heavy in apocalypse, and a lot of people were shying away from it, right? But the book of Revelation has a lot of information that I think is valuable for us today. And in regards to conveying Yeshua, I start first with the historical Yeshua. And it's crazy that one servant, me had a conversation and I discussed this with him, and I shared this on a live stream in the past, that it's the Gentiles that seek after a sign and miracles. If you take all the miracles that Yeshua did out, take him ascending to the sky, we see in Acts chapter 1, take about his second advent mentioned in Thessalonians and other parts of the text. If you take all that out, you get the historical Messiah. All of that was added as in hyperbole to exaggerate the mission that he came to do, which is to preach the gospel of the kingdom and turn Israel back to the Father. So all that extra stuff, you can't prove historically. Historians can't prove none of that. But they examined the historical Yeshua. And according to the testimony of his followers, the reason why they continued on with his movement, because they claimed he reappeared to them. That was their claim. There was a lot of messiahs that was running around during that time period. From 30 years prior, 30 years after, during the time of Yeshua, there was other messiahs running around doing miracles, doing all that other crazy stuff. But once they was killed, their movement disbanded. But yet, with the followers of Yeshua, they continued the mission. This was very strange historically, a strange anomaly. And the proof is that they say that he appeared to them. The problem is the Gentiles are after miracles and wonders. Israel, the very oracles of God was given to them. Peter says, speak as the very oracle of Yah. So when you're dealing with Yeshua, you have to study his oracles, not his works. The works was just there to help validate the message, because people do not want to believe in the Most High and the prophets that he sends to them. They want to see the miracles. Some of y'all too hell-bent on the miracles and you're missing the message. Okay. All right. All right. All right. Shalom to my sister. You love Yah. Shalom, sis. My brother Kwaku RGB in the building. RBG gang in the building. What's going on, man? What's going on, man? Hey, Kwaku, did you see that lecture that I posted on YouTube when we was doing an international decade for people of African descent? Go check it out. Let me know what you think, King, because we need some soldiers behind that. Shalom to my brother Luke 12:51. Truth. What's going on? What's going on? All right, let's see. Yeah, so Solomon, I think I touched on some of this, but in regards to fringes, I've spoken on this ad infinitum. We addressed it earlier in regards to the black obelisk of Shalmaneser III, and the way that the Israelites were wearing fringes back then. It was on their tunic, or there was a garment that was covering over their inner garments or their undergarments, and fringes was put on the bottom of those. The best way to see fringes or to identify fringes is what we get in scripture, right? From the work of Solomon, the wreaths in the book of Solomon. So if we go to 1 Kings, let me get that for you. That's 1 Kings chapter 7, verse 21. That is what our fringes should look like. So let's get it. 1 Kings chapter 7 and verse 21. All right. And it says, verse 20, it says, the capitals were on the two pillars and also above the rounded projection, which was beside the lattice work. There were 200 pomegranates in 2 rows all around, and so with the other capital. Verse 21, he set up the pillars at the vestibule of the temple. He set up the pillar on the south, on the south, and called its name Yakin. And he set the pillar on the north and called it Boaz. Verse 22, and on the tops of the pillars was lily work. Thus the work of the pillars were born. Right? Let's get into that real quick. Let's get into that real quick. Okay. Oh, 21 is what I'm looking for. 21, go back. Come on. All right, let's see. Is this the verse? I think this is the verse. Hey, let me do this. This makes it easy for me. Let's go to Devarim 22:12. And then we get numbers. So Devarim 22:12. Right. Oh no, it's verse 17. Oh. Okay, let's go ahead and get it. Verse 17. That's what I came to do. Verse 17. Let's read that in the English first. Verse 17. And verse 17 says, well, I started 16. He also made 2 capitals of cast bronze to set up on the tops of the pillars. The height of the one capital was 5 cubits, and the height of the other capital was 5 cubits. There were lattices of checker work with wreaths of chain work for the capitals on the top of the pillars, a lattice for the one capital and a lattice for the other capital. This word here, wreaths of chain work, this is what you can get from your Devarim, Deuteronomy chapter 22 and verse 12. Same word. If you know what this looks like in ancient buildings, when there was 2 pillars, you had wreath work, garlands that would hang low like this, like a wide U shape, right? And then they would be tied on the pillars, and they would come right down the pillars and flare out. That wreath work is your gedelim. That is your fringes or your tassels. That's the word. Gedil. So gedil is a twisted thread. So your gedilim is plural of twisted threads. And it is also written as wreath work. Let me see if I can get you an image of it real quick. Let me see if I can get you an image of it so you can see. Man, when you put that stuff in to look up an image, it gives you all this Christmas stuff. That's crazy. Really crazy. All right, let me see if I can find something for you. Okay, let me show you. I guess I'll show you the Christmas stuff, man. Why did you the Christmas stuff, man? Come on, bro. Damn. Let me show it to you. I'll show it to you anyway, so you can get an idea. I drew an image of it before when I had a whiteboard some time ago, but let me just show it to you. Hold on. All right, you see this image? You see this wreath work? So in ancient times, a pillar would be right here, a pillar would be right here, and then you'd have this twisted threads hanging over like a U shape and then draping down and flaring out. So that's that. Let me address your last question. Yes, calling upon the name of the Lord is going to be a lecture, not a class, and that's the one that I'm currently working on. That's going to blow your mind. A lot of people don't know what it means to call on the name of the Lord, but we're going to go into detail about it. Yes, I spoke to Dr. Tabor years ago. You know, he pushes the Ebionite Nazarene perspective that I subscribe to. He talks about the truth about Paul and Paul's theology. He's written books on it and everything, right? Legit scholar, objective at that, right? So I've spoken to him in regards to this before. Y'all can always look up his work. Dr. Tabor put in Ebionites and you'll see he talks about this, all right? All right. Hey, my brother, thank you for investing so much into this ministry. Does that mean the text contains legends myths? I've always thought Samson is like Hercules. Exodus, think slab, shed some light, please. The text does contain legends and myths. It does. So anything before the Exodus has legends and myths in it because they can't be authenticated historically. So we get in there as legends and myths intertwined with some history because it's rhetoric, and the rhetoric, which is the art of persuasion, the rhetoric is the author is trying to persuade you of something, so he uses literary devices such as hyperbole when you exaggerate something for effect in order to shed light on the spiritual conveyance of the message. The history is natural events that occur based on things that the Most High puts in order, and the interpretation of that history is the hyperbolic effect that the author who's using rhetoric is getting you to see the spirituality behind the natural conventions of history. You understand what I'm saying? So history is the cause of natural events that the Most High put in order. And what we're reading the text is giving you the spiritual insights or the spiritual lenses in which to see that history so you can see the working of the deity behind natural events and understand why. That is the author's job to convey to you, the audience. When you look at the text that way, it doesn't contradict with science or history. But people don't read the text the appropriate way, and that's why they have issues with it. Yes, everybody has a bias and a predisposition. Everybody does. Some have more than others, but everybody does. That's why we have peer review. So we can examine those things that people put forth and discover if there's bias in it or not. So, yeah, I agree, brother. Yes, we do. Yes, we do. Let me see if I can get that for you real quick. That should be that's Exodus chapter 13. Exodus chapter 13. The Lord said to Moses, consecrate to me all the firstborn, whatever is the first to open the womb among the people of Israel, both man and beast, and a beast is mine. There's your dedication of the firstborn son. Why? Because the Most High redeemed the firstborn son in Egypt. So those firstborn that was redeemed now are his, and they are to offer them to the Most High. Also, we got an example in 1 Samuel, where Samuel, during the time of Judges, he is also dedicated to the temple. The man Elkanah and all his house went up to offer to the Lord the yearly sacrifice and to pay his vow. But Hannah did not go up, for she said to her husband, as soon as the child is weaned, I will bring him so that he may appear in the presence of the Lord and dwell there forever. That's based on what we get in Exodus chapter 13. Elkanah, her husband, said to her, do what seems best to you. Wait until you have weaned him. Only may the Lord establish his word. So the woman remained and nursed her son until she weaned him. And when she had weaned him, she took him up with her, along with a 3-year-old bull, an ephah of flour, and a skin of wine. And she brought him to the house of the Lord at Shiloh, and the child was young. So there it is right there. Let me know if that suffices, okay? All right. So let's see. Oh yeah, anytime, brother, anytime. If you need any help with anything, let me know. Email me, and I'll see what I can do to help or assist. Okay. All right. Thank you, HaKodesh. Let's get the likes up. Likes up. All right. So, yeah, I hear you, my brother, and we should be set apart from that. So I just told you what it is. What I'll probably do is draw an image of it for you, or see if I could find a good image. I did one like years ago when I taught on it, to show you what it looks like and how it should be affixed to your garment. My wife had made one for me on 2 different garments before. Let me see if I could find them and I can actually show it on camera, or have her do it from scratch because she's a seamstress. Have her do it from scratch so you can see actually what it should look like. All right. So I definitely understand that, my brother. All right. And lastly, to finish your questions, Samson is like Hercules. Yeah, but it's different because we know the books of Judges predate what we get in classical Greek in regards to the story of Hercules. You get him through Homer's Iliad and the Theogony of Hesiod, who talk about the origin and providence of the gods and the sons of the children of the gods. And we get it from other epics as well. But just because there's similarities does not mean that one causes the other, right? That's a fallacy. If you think correlation equals causation, you got to prove that, right? But the snake staff in Exodus has some meaning behind it. Also, Numbers chapter 21, which I mentioned, so you can understand that snake staff that he had, what it represented, because they made a whole bronze statue of that snake staff, right? It turned into a snake and it turned back. Yeah, that's stuff that was replicated also by Pharaoh and his magicians, because that's something that a supernatural entity involves itself in order to take something that's natural, like a wooden staff, and turn it into something else. And that's a form of alchemy. The Egyptians have been practicing this for hundreds of thousands of years. Hundreds and thousands of years. Not hundreds, 100,000 years, but hundreds to thousands of years. All right. All right. So hopefully that answers your question briefly. And thank you for your donations, brother. I appreciate it. All right. So I'm going to close out on the session. We're already past 7 o'clock. It's over an hour. Let me answer this for you. Let me get that text for you real quick, brother. Let me get that for you real quick. We have several places, but the one that I'm most fond of is, let me see if I could grab it for you real quick. Verse 16 here. For you are our father. This is prophetic language. Through Abraham does not know us, and Israel does not acknowledge us. You, Yah, are our father. Our redeemer from of old is your name. Whenever you see Yeshua refer to the Father, he's using prophetic language that we can tie back to an archetype called Yeshayahu or Isaiah. The prophets called the Most High their Father. So here it is, Isaiah 63 verse 16, where Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh is called the Father. Okay. So let me know. Hopefully that helps. All right. All right. So with that being said, thank y'all for your support. Are we out of pocket if we wear zeets? No, you're not out of pocket if you wear zeets. No. But once you have knowledge of a more accurate way, because what you're doing now is an attempt to follow the commandments, Yah accepts it. But once you get taught the most accurate way, now it's up to you to start wearing it that way, which would be preferred if you know this is the ancient way in which they wore it. But there was always different flavors or versions of it over time. But if you want to go back to the ancient paths, and that's the goal, the ancient paths, like we see here, if we want to walk the ancient paths, if we have artifacts that showcases Israelites and their clothing, and we want to be historically accurate to what they wore at that time to replicate it today, then there's a more excellent way, as Paul says in 1 Corinthians chapter 12. There's a more excellent way. So let's choose that excellent way to bring us back to those ancient paths of our forefathers and ancestors. All right? Shout out to Truth, the more truth. I see you, King. All right? Thank you for the donation. Get wise. I appreciate it. All right, y'all. Those of you who are watching on the replay, thank you for watching this as well. Make sure you hit the thumbs up button if you want to support the ministry. Sign up for the Patreon, or you can purchase one of our services and our products. They're in the description below, or you can do a thanks. Hit the thanks button, and you can donate as if you were here live and giving us one of the super chats or super stickers. All right. And if anybody needs anything from this ministry, we can help serve you in any way. Email us at kingdomharbinger@gmail.com. And if you know anybody that's locked up or incarcerated that wants information, books, DVDs, or whatever, we are more than happy to help them free of charge. Have them email us, kingdomharbinger@gmail.com, or have them send a letter to us at 28257 Lawrence Street, hashtag 4295, Marietta, Georgia, 361. And you'll see that in the description below. All right. So I appreciate y'all. Thank you so much for your support, for allowing me to humbly answer your questions. I appreciate that. And I look forward to seeing you guys on the next live stream. Look out for the video that I'm working on in regards to what was the serpent in the garden. What was it? What was its ontology? We're going to look into that. All right. Hopefully you guys enjoy that. All right. Love you guys. Thank you for your support. Look forward to see you again soon on the next live stream. Keep me in your prayers. I pray for you as well. And yeah, we made it to another Freestyle Friday. All right. Hopefully you guys enjoy. Peace and shalom.